Sorry, Rian.
Hello? What's going on?
Yeah, there's a audio loopback.
Wait, wait,
You
wait,
might need to
sorry.
actually turn off the mobile audio because it's actually creating a loopback.
Oh, the phone?
Yeah, the phone audio needs to be off, or you just insert a jack, then it work.
Ah, okay, okay. I think that's better.
Yeah.
No, I'm so sorry. Okay, is it good? Is
Yep,
it
sounds
better
good.
now? Okay, nice.
Um, but your drawing is actually on the it just is tilted, right? It's okay.
It's what?
It's I mean, if you actually look at the screen, okay, just a moment.
Hi.
Hello, good evening. So we are at our 6 p.m. slot.
Yes,
And who do you have today, Billy?
we have two lovely ladies on board today. We have Rian Gonzales. Did I pronounce it right?
Rian Gonzales.
Hello.
Yes,
Hi,
hi.
hi, Rian. How are
Hi,
you?
Rian. And I'm pretty sure this is pretty much a household name in the comics community. We have like all her work shared out all the time. So it's an honor to have you over. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Rian.
thank you. Thank you,
Right, and
thank
we
you.
also have another lovely artist, and her name is Zoo.
Hey, Zoo.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How
Hi.
are you?
Right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm pretty sure in both the Malaysian comics community and the Singapore comics community, there's like these are household names where we're
Mhm.
always seeing the stuff.
Household name sounds like a detergent brand
Oh, come on.
That's true.
In
We
the
need that
community.
in the community. Yes.
Yeah, I was being specific there. I didn't. It's like, oh, fabuloso. No, I'm talking about comics industry. I mean, because I have frequently seen their works being shared out. I've never, really seen a face to it. So it's just like an honor for me. It's like, oh, finally, this is how the artist looks like, and so it's just amazing that to have this both of you on board, especially on a Sunday afternoon where you guys should be, could be
Sunday
taking a break.
evening. So
Sunday
yeah.
evening, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I do believe that they'll be drawing live for us today.
I believe that
Yes,
Rian will be
Rian,
drawing live.
yes.
Yes.
right?
And
But
we will be
Zoo
singing.
will probably bring some of the original artwork and share. Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be so cool. So I think, as usual, this is going to be a super chill out session with fans. Again, reminding over to all our
That's
fans that
Asuka.
that's
Oh, sorry.
tuning.
I'm just being a fanboy, just looking at
You
her
fanboy.
artwork.
Right, okay. To fans that's following us either on Facebook, on YouTube, feel free to drop in your comments, or if you want to shout out some love, as usual, drop it all over in Play Exhibitions Facebook or YouTube, and then just drop it on comments. You can ask some questions, you can send out your love to you or even to Hancock. And then after that, yeah, just to remind you guys that we have giveaways that's happening. So make sure that you listen carefully to the questions that we might have asked over to the artist. Write it down or store it out somewhere, and then look out for our giveaway form, which is in the Play Exhibitions Facebook, and then it's in Facebook, right? Yeah. So and then
Okay.
after that, we will be announcing the winner on the 11th of December. And just to quickly show you guys, this is what you guys will be scoring: a mini digital
Let
tablet.
me just put you on the main screen. Yeah, so
Okay,
that
so this
they
is what
have.
you'll be scoring. So it's a mini tablet which you can bring it along with you anywhere. You can just plug it in onto
I
your
think that
bag.
there's also people that actually mentioned that they don't draw. therefore they
Right.
don't need it. But I think that it's actually important to know that the usage of this XP pen tablet is also
Right.
useful if you have a lot of documents to sign, right?
Yes, right. I mean, like
Digitally.
the thing about this is that you can use it to sign documents digitally, you can use it to draw, or if you're feeling stressed, I find it that, having a tablet with you and just letting, or you can even let your kids play with it because it's that user friendly. So
Yeah.
go ahead, just go for it. I mean, like, hey, or you could never resell it. Okay, so yeah.
Reselling it. So long that it's actually not within the community, I'm fine.
All right. So let's start out with today's session. For let's get to know the artist first. I think that's, especially for those of us that are not familiar with this artist. I think let's start with introductions first.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So let's start over with Zoo. Please tell us more about yourselves and what about your work and stuff like that.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we'll make it harder. Just probably use one
Harder.
sentence to actually introduce yourself.
One sentence.
Okay, I'll try my best if my English loads properly. Hi everyone, thank you for having me here. My name is Zhu. I'm from Singapore. Currently, I am a comic. I work in the comics industry, and
Right.
I'm represented by Kirby's Comic Art.
Mhm.
I miss Comic Cons a lot. So some of the
Right.
stuff that I've worked on that have been published include titles in some Valiant covers,
Okay.
including XO Man of War. Oh my god, I am not prepared for
Very
that.
blank.
Suddenly went blank. It's okay.
But yeah,
Uh,
we can actually go into more detail
oh
in
yeah,
later
maybe
part
you
of the
can.
session.
Yeah. So basically, I've done some comic covers, and I've
Right.
one of my in the last couple of years, what I've been doing is actually one of my biggest collaborations. It's actually a work called Cover. I think you can see it at the back there.
Right.
It's
That's
published under Jinx World under DC Comics. I collaborated with Brian Michael Bendis and David
Mhm.
Mack,
Right.
who wrote the story, and David actually did the story. He did a lot of the art, and I did some of the digital coloring for it. So we are actually working on the second volume of the book right now. So that's one of the things that I've been working on this year. Other than that, I have some covers out recently by Boom Studios under
Mhm.
Black Kid Comic Shop.
Mhm.
The title is called "Something Is Killing the Children." Apparently, that's a really big and very popular title at the moment.
Yes.
So
Wow.
And we are
really,
actually looking at the cover just right next to you, behind you, right?
yeah.
The one that's
That's
actually
the
on the
latest
canvas.
one. That's the latest
Yeah,
one that came out,
it
and
looks so good.
Wow. It
thank
looks
you so much.
good.
Yeah. The cover actually sold out in seconds, apparently. Like when it was
Wow,
released
just in
I
second.
think a few days ago, actually. So
But
Wow.
yeah,
how big,
Congratulations.
like how big is the print run for
I
this
think
cover?
it's 300,
Oh, okay.
or is it
Hmm.
500? 300, yeah. So it's quite small,
Which
I
is,
think.
but it's still sell out. I mean, sold out is sold out, right? So that means that
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
congratulations on that. So
Yes,
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
congratulations.
Thank you. I
Awesome.
appreciate that. Thank you.
and how about so? Oh, by the way, that's actually more than one sentence.
Hello, me. Hello.
Hi, Rian.
Hi, Miss. Hi, mabuhay. This sounds like it's just a Miss Universe question and answer.
Oh, we have not asked you. What do you want? You want world peace? Or
Okay. Well, I'm also a cover artist for many titles. Sorry, I'm shy. um, I also do some. The first cover that I did was for Archie Comics, which is Betty and Veronica, and it's actually started just like me doing some fan art. So that's like I wasn't really expecting anything from it, and I just like to draw characters that I like, and then I didn't anticipate that I would make like a lot of drawings for like characters that I like, which I'm thankful for, of course. And when I'm not doing anything, I'm playing Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing.
Yes.
So if anyone
We should
that's
be
actually
friends.
Animal Crossing, yeah, should be friends. You can exchange your ID later.
Yes, yes, please. But my place looks really rubbish, so yeah, it's okay.
Mine too. I only open it when it's like a season, when there's seasonal events and stuff. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but now it has like a lot of weeds. So all my all my villagers have weeds. That doesn't sound good though.
But we need it for money. It's all right. So, I don't know. Oh, okay. Before it spawns into a massive Animal
Animal
Crossing
Crossing
topic,
discussion.
I'm going to control because in the last
Gonna
session
be
we had a
gonna
massive
be an
Star Wars.
online game stream now, guys. It's not a comic.
Yeah, well, that's fine as well. I mean, comics, game, movies. We can talk about those along these 2 hours session.
Okay.
I do see a draw cam, so I believe this is actually Rian's draw cam.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what
I
are
don't know
what
what.
will you be drawing today?
So these are like some of the sketches that I prepared for the, because I'm a slow worker, so like even at conventions when I do some sketching, like I see all the people around me doing some on the spot and they finish like 30 minutes. In mine, I'm still like doing it the second day of the convention. It's really hard,
So,
yeah.
what character would you be drawing? I see. The one that you're drawing right now is it Ahsoka Tano?
Yes, yes. These
And
were some of the suggestions from my Patreon page. I just ran a poll, and so I picked like characters that I I have the recency bias from Ahsoka because of the
Mhm.
Mandalorian, but
Mandalorian. Yeah,
but I
I
don't.
believe that.
I might say something.
Have you watched it? Have you watched it?
Yes,
Can you
yes.
ex- Okay. Are you? Do you like it? This could be a question to Zoo as well. Have you watched Mandalorian?
No,
Uh,
So yes, it's
I
not going to be
will
a Star
though.
Wars chat.
you probably need to actually start doing your homework. I believe that there will be commission coming in asking you to actually draw the
I know.
character.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's one of the many things on my to watch list at the moment. It's
Right.
just there are just so many things to catch up on. I've
Mhm.
been on a more of a horror movie kick
Mhm.
in the
Ah,
recent this year. This year is my jam. I think that's the theme of the year. It's
Why
horror
would
movie.
you watch horror this year? This year is horrific already.
But it's a good stress release, like
It is
like
exactly.
when I watch
Billy
horror,
gets
it's
me.
like so. I'm just curious though, what titles have you been following recently, Zoo?
Uh, for for series, I've been the recent one that I watched was the Haunting series on Netflix.
Mm.
Yeah,
ah.
yeah, that one's really good. The Hill
Yes.
House and Bly Manor, they're both really good.
Yeah.
And then I watched recently was that I watched was Midsommar,
Right.
and yeah, it's just amazing. That's one of my one of my favorite directors. I wish that he will continue making more horror films. So, Hereditary was also really really good.
Right.
If you want a real scare, but yeah, that's my.
So I'm
I think
glad I have an Animal Crossing buddy, and I have like a depict buddy now.
I
So
think
yeah.
I think I think
Horror
the real
watcher.
scare in the real scare flick in this year is 2020.
Yes.
That's the
And
real
all
scare.
cons got
You don't
cancelled
need to
and
watch
people
any
stay at
more
home.
horror movie because everything in this world is scary.
I know. And then let's just hope that 2021 does not have a sequel. So
Yeah.
okay. Speaking of how 2020 has been such a scare, a lot of conventions have been canceled out. And for both of you, I know that you guys are super active with, going on conventions and, getting your work out and meeting other artists. So let's talk a little bit about on the pandemic itself. Like, how has it, affected you guys as artists? And, what have you been up to so far for this year and trying to cope with the whole COVID-19 thing?
Mm. That's
Um,
We'll start with. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let's
Do
just
like
pick a name.
space out.
But
All right.
I think that I think the most I think the hardest part for it is that since conventions are actually like the only avenue for us to actually have a social life when you think about it, because we're freelancers, and so it's like it's really hard to be able, like, a lot of people think that you get to be like more inspired when there's a lot of things going on, but it actually puts more pressure into your work, even if you're always at home. Like, they think that you have all the time in the world to work, but it actually affects your productivity in a sense that it, in a sense that your mood isn't like, you're not inspired.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that. I mean, like you're always like some artists say they get overwhelmed. Some of them says just lose motivation, but some of them actually goes like, "Oh, I'm totally motivated and on fire." And how about you, Zero? Like, how has this affected you?
Well, and on a positive note, I'm home, and
Right.
like family and friends don't see me often.
Okay.
But then because of the pandemic, we also don't. Now that I'm here, I actually don't actually get to hang out with them that much
Okay.
either.
Okay.
But I do agree with what Rian said in terms of, because I think when I'm traveling a lot, I get very stimulated, and I know that there's
Mm-hmm.
a very small window of time that I can work on my project. So,
Mm-hmm.
I get very motivated to, like, okay, I have a deadline. I have to make sure that between these conventions, I have to finish this amount of project. Like, I have a list going on. Now, I mean, I do still have deadlines, obviously, and I try to meet them as much as possible. But there
Right.
is this certain, like, lull at times that I get into where I have to. I love my work. I'm really grateful, for
Mm-hmm.
my career and what I've been able to do. But at the same time, like, there's not a lot of social interaction or stimulation, and just the sharing and look, like, just facing other artists and, like, meeting my art friends and my art family on in cons has always been, one of the best things about conventions and traveling. So yeah, it's just really different in terms of trying to, how do I inspire, like, how do I don't want to say inspire, but, like, how do I motivate myself each day to stick
Right.
to a discipline that I already follow such a rigid schedule before the pandemic, but now it's
Right.
even somehow even more imperative that I stick to it even more.
Mm-hmm.
So there are moments where I would go like 2 weeks of, like, yes, nonstop, like, just drawing and painting and being super productive, and then I'll be like, oh my god, I need a vacation, but I'm already at home. I'm already relaxed. Why do I feel like I need a vacation?
And there's no way to walk away from your home work, I
Something,
guess.
yeah, something like
Right.
that. So yeah.
So you can't drop your pen. So I mean, it's either that you go out for a walk, but you still come back to places that you need to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I work in my room. My studio, like, my art things are here, and then, like, this is where I sleep, and and everything. So
Right.
it's just everything is not really compartmentalized as
So
opposed to
Mm-hmm.
when you
is
have.
that something like is that why that you de-stress by watching more horror movies so that you back
In a
it up
way,
the
yeah,
horror?
yeah, yeah. I have to make sure that I also keep to, like, an exercise and, like a running schedule, and try
Hmm.
to just to get out of the house, and then
Get some
make
oxygen.
yeah make like find excuses to go to the supermarket or something, like, yeah, I'm gonna go get ice cream, so I'm gonna walk to NTC or something.
Okay.
I think
All
there's a
right.
question, well, on the topic of horror, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Jungjae actually asked that, do you read horror comics as well?
No, actually, I should. I guess, like the current project that I'm working on, something is killing the children. I guess
Ah, yes,
that is
it
under
is
horror, and I actually did
under
start
horror.
reading it. So, but I would love some recommendations of horror comics.
Ah,
Um,
okay. So recommendation of horror comics from the
yes,
floor. So
please.
let's see them as we actually move on out to our conversation, right? Okay.
Well, isn't I think the most popular one is Junji Ito, right?
Junji
Yeah,
Ito.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
like a
I haven't
no-brainer.
saw his work, but I haven't like particularly. I'm not a
Yeah.
horror person.
I've seen drawings, from like, my friends would be like, hey, look at this, and I'm like, okay. But it's
Yeah.
more on the gore side of things. I like the psychological and more maybe thriller kind of horror.
Actually, yeah, Junji Ito actually has a mix of both. So
Hmm.
it has the gore side, but it also has the psychological thing. I mean, there are a couple of short stories that he did that really still scar me. Yeah, do
What
check it
that
out.
is insane about Junji Ito is that he can draw something insanely crazy. The
Mhm.
visuals and it's something that you cannot unsee. But then when you watch him on interviews, he's like this quiet, cute Japanese old man that's like, "Hello, I'm Junji Ito." It's just like a total contrast of characters,
That's
and it's
true.
just
He's so
insane.
cute, but his
I know.
drawing.
His drawing is like, okay, that's his alter ego put out on canvas there, and I think it's
Yeah,
like,
he's basically trying to express the other dark side onto the paper,
yes.
and once he actually expresses everything onto the paper, he's just happy.
I think it's similar to our friends out here today for the interview. It's like they're like, "Oh, I'm really soft and and really sweet," and then when you see the artworks, where is this insanity coming from? And like, I love Rian's bright colors, and I love the coloring work on Zoo's work as well. It's just that you guys have like exactly like Junji Ito. It's like totally different from what's in person and what you're seeing on canvas. So that's one thing that's cool. Like speaking about artists right now, I mean, who are both of you obviously have an art direction or an art style that you call your own. So who are the artists that inspire you into the works of today? So like it could be like from anywhere, like artists, or it could be like movies or stuff that influence you. So what is the main primary inspiration towards your work itself? Let's
I
say
think
Rian.
I
Yeah.
think I started like when I was young when I did like some like in the 90s, very clamp Sailor Moon, card
Mm.
captors, Colourama. So
Hey!
yeah, that's when I really started drawing, and then I really thought like I was more of a manga anime girl actually than comics. I started comics when I was in college because one of my professors kind of like just bumped me in the head and said that your drawing your drawing is too anime or something. So
Too
Right.
colorful.
he recommended me to do some Western stuff. So instead
Mhm.
of like sulking in a corner and being emo, like, oh no, I can't draw anime waifus anymore. I actually met some people who were supportive. Like I had my org mates who um, had a different style from mine, so I was like open to um, a different kind of art. So I tried.
Mhm.
So for my thesis, I actually tried doing something different, like more Disney. Like I looked at some works like Mingju Chen's work from Disney, and then of course, I was also inspired like currently by of course Bengal because we share our work with each other. So he,
Mhm.
I don't do a lot of backgrounds. That's something that I have a hard time doing. So it's
Okay.
always nice to know to keep track of what you are weak at, so that
Mhm.
you kind of keep in check your art. That that there's still some room to improve to it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome.
And
And
over to
Zoo?
you. So let's talk about your inspirations for your artwork.
Um, wow, there's so many to mention.
So
Um,
maybe we will rephrase it a little bit differently.
Right.
okay.
I mean, considering that well, everyone start drawing when you're a kid, right? When would
Mhm.
be the first time that you see something and you realize that I want to be an artist to actually make a living? Have is do you remember that phase, like converting that, oh, I'm drawing this just for as a hobby, into, oh, I'm going to draw this and make money from it,
Make money
Oh,
or famous?
or famous?
wow. I wish I can tell an inspirational story about, yes, I remember that one moment in, like, when I was a child or something, where where I make that recognition and realization of, okay, I'm gonna be an artist. But I actually, my first love was writing.
Mhm.
it
Oh,
wasn't
right.
it wasn't actually visual arts. And I mean, I did draw a lot, when I was in school, in second, like, I started, I was kind of late about it as well. I think I've always been creative in terms of, like, I like to do arts and crafts. I was always making something. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
like to collage and, stuff like that. So I'm always playing with materials a lot as growing up. But I was more on the literary side of things, more than like the visual part of it. And then I think eventually, I'm not sure, I think there was a point where I realized that, oh, I'm not half terrible. So, and somehow I wanted to do a thing where I wanted to merge, like, my writing with my, like, with something that I draw myself, because I just I just like the idea of creating and being um experimental in my materials and things like that. Um so yeah, I guess for me it's more like a gradual thing. Even for comics, I would say that it's not something that I didn't really grow up with comics. I grew up more with, like, cartoons or animation, and, watching TV and stuff like that, more like moving things. And I actually did go into animation when I was in university. So the painting part was before the animation, where I actually did traditional painting in the cell. And then I experimented with, like, video art and installation, all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of very different. Yeah, I've really, I would say that I've really tried my hand, and, like, yeah,
Everything.
yeah, in everything, like wedding photography was actually something that I wanted to go into, and then somehow I decided in the last minute that I was gonna go into digital animation instead. So yeah, it's all it's still an experimentation for
It's
me.
good.
Even, yeah, it's just different. It's just a different industry, but, I think that my processes are really similar. And, like, in terms of how I approach a work or a project, I'm gonna apply the same I- ideas and the same, like, process into whatever project it is at the moment. So, like, and for now, it happens to be a lot of comics and commissions, and, characters, and borrowing characters from different uh from different series and things like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a big process for me.
But
Right.
I mean, how would be your conversion process like? Because you started, well, probably not. Do you read some comics? Do you
Yeah,
read comics?
I do read comics. Yeah.
And what kind of comics do you actually like?
I like a lot of one shot stuff, and, like,
Yeah,
more like
shorter expansion, no,
yeah,
not much of
indie.
investment.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's not that I don't want to get into it. I'm gonna be lost. Like, if I
Uh-huh.
start, like, okay,
It's
I'm
too
gonna start reading.
complicated.
Yeah, if I'm gonna start reading, like, Justice League or something, I wouldn't know
Mhm.
where I would start, with it. So I just tend to look out for, like, maybe artists that I know, like Bill Sienkiewicz, for instance. I
Mhm.
follow, like, a lot of his work, and I love
Mm-hmm.
his Electra, and he's one of my inspirations as well. So I actually know him in person, so it's really cool to get to meet, like, one of my favorite people in comics and in art,
Or
Yeah,
and
uh,
getting to
yeah.
be friends with him. So
We
yeah, it's really cool.
probably later will come back to the Bill Sienkiewicz encounter that you can actually share from experience. But having getting into comics, doing commission, uh, what do you find challenging, or is there any challenge for you to actually convert and adapt to the new community that collects all these established characters?
Oh, definitely. I don't want to be, every time that I get a character that I'm not familiar with, or even if I'm familiar with them, I still do, like, at least a day or 2 days worth of research, just just to familiarize myself even more with the characters, and I like to look at how artists have interpreted the character and the different styles. And I try to read up a bit about the history if I can find, if I
Mhm.
can find some information about that. And because I don't want to make like, I don't want to interpret it the wrong, a character that is so beloved in a wrong way or something. So I try to do my research. I think that's about the best that I can do, and not mess up my interpretation of it, because I want to honor like the person who actually, the artist that actually has created the actual original work, the original character, but also like the fans, like, and the person who is commissioning me to do the character. So yeah, it's a lot of it's one thing. I guess this time that we set aside to execute the final, and to but then before that happens, there's all these different, like more hours put into, like, oh, okay, maybe I try to read the comics if I can, borrow it from someone. Or if I sometimes I would ask different, other artist friends that I know, like, hey, do you know this character? Do you know
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
of any, have you found like any artists that have done the character before, or painted or drawn the character before? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of, it's fun. I mean, for me, I think it's like an education for me, especially because it's not, it's an industry that still, I love being in the comics industry, and I really love like the family that I have here, the arts people. Everyone has been really kind and very supportive. And so, but it's such a, it's a small and big community at the same time, I think. So there's so many different niche, groups as well in the comics
Mhm.
community as well. So yeah, it's for me, I feel like I'm working, but I'm also still getting education and getting, I'm still in school
On the
somehow.
job training
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah,
it's a growing
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
How about
yeah.
Rian? When it actually comes to like, I think you. Sorry, sorry for stuttering you. How about yourself when you actually started working on comics? How long have you been working on comics? And is there any challenge for you to actually adapt to the American style compared to your very uniquely manga and colorful style?
Mm-mm. Okay, so actually, when I graduated college, the common misconception I think that a lot of people do, like mostly artists, was that thinking that they should adopt into a certain style, especially in comics. When I graduated, I tried drawing what I see like are getting published, because of course, like I wanted to take a job. Like when you, after you graduate, no one knows your art yet. So you need to make a name for yourself. And so I took like really odd jobs, like drawing. Like there are some requests for you to draw as like a style of someone else. Like,
Mm,
um, and I wasn't happy with it because every day I felt like it's not my work. So what I did was that while I did work every month, I tried to make it a point to just build my portfolio. So
mm,
that's what I did. And actually, when it started for me, when CB Cebalski was doing some portfolio reviews, and he went to Manila in a convention to do some reviews. I think it was like 3 to 4 years ago,
mhm,
and I I just, instead of like trying to draw like Jim Lee or Adam Hughes, instead of doing that, I tried to just draw like in my very colorful manga art style, and that's what I submitted, and that's how I actually got shortlisted. And CB interviewed me, and he said that um, I would be able to um, do some covers for Marvel, and I thought that it would be like instantly, but it's not. It took me 2 years to send my art and portfolio. Like every month, I would get rejected for 2 years until I got a project, which is the connecting covers for Marvel Rising,
Mm-hmm.
which was my first cover for Marvel. I think that was like 2 years ago, and so a lot of people think that it's easy, but breaking into comics is actually pretty hard. You have to be able to adapt to rejections a lot. Like 2 years, like the first few months, I thought to myself, maybe this is not for me, but I wanted it so bad um, that I didn't care if I get rejected, because frankly, drawing is the only thing that I'm good at. So if I'm not gonna make any work at drawing, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have any backup plan, and that's why I think I'm stubborn, because ever since I was in high school, that was the only thing I was working towards. So I think that's why I'm stubborn.
But it's also says states something, right? I mean, if you want to actually continue to do what you like and what you enjoy, you just need to be continuously work out something that is actually acceptable to the mass market.
Correct.
Yes, yes. And during that time, I just thought to myself that my skill set still wasn't enough when I got
Mm-hmm.
rejected, but eventually if I work harder, it will be enough to secure me some work. So there's like a process that you need to accept, that there would be like it's not an instant gratification. Like it's not
Mm.
a because a lot of artists, I think that's the problem that they have, like they when they post that you need to get a lot of likes right away. But
Mm.
when I started in DeviantArt, I had 5 likes, and I think one of them was from my mom.
Well,
But
DeviantArt comes out, man. That's like so old
yeah,
school.
so out of that 5, there was this one artist from, I don't know, from Dubai, I think, like in
Mhm.
the Arab Emirates. And I just thought like a little girl like me from the Philippines, and there was this artist from the other side of the world who saw it, even if I'm not really that good. So that's the thing that kind of keeps me inspired.
Okay, so still continuing on the topic, right?
Mhm.
Dylan actually asked a question for Rian, particularly.
Okay.
There are many talented Pinoys in the industry. Lionel,
Uh,
Kim, Jay, Carlos, Steven. Are you guys
ah,
actually in a tight knit community? Do you like compare notes with each other? What kind of projects you're in, and maybe just get some feedback? Is that a very close knit community? That's I believe that's what he's asking.
well, there isn't like a tangible, really physical kind of like group. There's not like a meeting like every Sunday. Nothing really like that. But at conventions, we introduce to each other. And for example, when I was starting out and I didn't know what to rate my art, because that's the most annoying part about being an artist, is because you always kind of price your work a little lower because you think that
Mm.
it's not
Good
good,
enough.
because you're the artist, and you're always gonna think that you're charging less for your art. And so sometimes I message Miko or like
Mm.
Carlo, even when we're talking about like conventions abroad, since I haven't done it and they did already, and they're more experienced in that regard. Everyone is like really nice. Like they try their best to um, answer my questions. Like so. I don't think I've ever had like I don't think I've ever had like a really super bad experience. Like almost all artists are open to sharing their knowledge. It's just that a lot of artists are shy, so that's the problem. but but we're all just people, so don't be shy.
Yeah, so
If you
that's
never
the
know.
advice for some of the aspiring artists in the audience, that if you want to actually do
Yeah.
art, don't be shy about your art,
Right.
and be open to actually just reach out to get maybe some support from
Yep.
more
Yes.
established artists, right?
Mm-mm. That's one thing like I tell my students as well. Like, if you never ask, you never know. So if
Mm.
you're not reaching out to people, you never know how far you can expand your potential or how far you can expand your own expertise and talents and that. So that's one thing about, it's amazing. Like you guys are already, helping on this panel itself, helping out to share your experiences. That's something of how we can reach out. And also to the fans here, if you have any questions that you want to ask over to Rian or over to Zoo. But I do see a lot of love coming in from the comments for both Zoo and Rian. We've got congratulations for Zoo on for auction, and that's lots of love for Rian. And then especially, I know Ajay Haridas is like sending lots of love hearts over to Rian. I know that he's one of the biggest fans, so I'm doing a shout out for him. And we've got
Hello, what's
Rian,
his
Oh,
name? Sorry.
we can. Let me just put it out on screen. Yeah,
yeah, so that he
yeah,
can screenshot this, and I'm
yeah.
pretty sure he's got it.
So yeah, why don't we
I
actually do
like
this?
that part. That's my favorite heart emoji. We're best friends
Alright, so make
now.
sure that you get a screenshot of this, or someone can help him out, and so
Yeah.
that you'll be happy about it. All right, so we've got a couple of questions. There's one question particularly from Myron, where it is for Zoo. You do some embroidery on some of your commissions. How did that start, and what was the thinking behind the embroidery that you do on your pieces? Oh,
Oh, okay.
right.
Okay, so it's not something new to me in terms of my own process itself, like using thread, to sew into my works. When I was doing, I, I do a lot of journaling, and I also do. I don't do it as much now, just because there's not a lot of. I guess I'm not that motivated to do it, but I really used to do a lot of bookbinding.
Mhm.
Mm.
So yeah, just making small books for myself, just out of scrap materials, or just for fun. So
Oh wow.
uh,
Yeah, this is
yeah,
this is actually one of the example of the embroidery. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's one of the first pieces that I did, um, that I showed as, like, oh yeah, this is, like, that's a picture, that's an artwork of Delirium from the Sandman
Yes,
series.
yes,
And
yes.
so
Did like has the creator of Sandman actually responded on this? Did you actually share it on social media and
I have
yeah, get
shared it, but
Mhm.
I don't think they know of
They take
my
notice?
existence.
Not
Yeah.
yet, not yet,
Not
not
yet,
yet.
not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah,
It
not
will
yet. One day.
happen.
Yeah. So, I just like the idea of, like I said, I really like experimenting and
Mhm.
putting as many materials as I can, because even before that, I really like to just make my paper as heavy as possible. It's my
That's
Why is that
cool.
so? Because you want to
I
actually really make
um
it worthwhile for whoever that actually owns it.
it's
So
not
it
so
you
I mean, of
value it
course.
by weight.
No, no, no. I think it's more like, how do I push the medium, because it's such a 2D, it's such a flat, it's such a it's a flat piece of paper, right? So
Mhm,
I'm and because I guess I come from an animation and a film and photography, like moving pictures. So
mhm,
I'm
Mhm.
trying to make it like 3D, or like, how do I make it come alive a little more than just like, okay, this is just, obviously I'm not, I do just strictly pencil sketches, but rarely now do I just use one medium to put on a piece of paper, and like, on a final piece of something. This is always going to be a bunch of different materials that I stick into it. And it's also in terms of like how I choose the stuff that I put on in terms of the embroidery, that Myron has asked. I think it's more like, some pieces I think don't really need them, or they're not very suitable. So I try to be, what do you call it, like, a bit more, I try to be thoughtful about how do I add certain things, because I don't also want to make it look super busy
Mhm.
or super messy, or like, oh, what kind of composition is this. So yeah, and also because a lot of my process work is very organic. So
Mhm.
sometimes I don't decide that, oh, I'm gonna put the embroidery for this piece until I've come to a certain stage, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna put something, I'm gonna put the like I'm gonna sew something onto it, like for instance the one that is shown on screen right now, that's the cover, the recent cover from the Something's Killing the Children that was released recently. So initially when I was given the brief and all that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually start. My idea was that I'm gonna add embroidery into this specific cover. But after I finished, after I came to a certain point, I realized that, oh, I don't think it needs it. So it's really a matter of like the choice, and like I kind of have to be very, like I said, quite thoughtful about, oh, do I add it in? Is it gonna make it even messier, or is it not gonna make sense, to add the thread and stuff to it. The one that was before this, I don't think I have it on my Facebook, but I can show it. It's one of the very
Let me just zoom.
this is like this was the one that was published before. It's also from Something is Killing the Children. So this is my most embroidered.
Are those socks? Baby socks?
It's actually embroidered. You see the back of it.
Okay. Wow.
So it's basically like in the book, she has this, the main character, she has this octopus doll that comes alive, and then the spirit, this is the spirit of it that comes out from the thing. So I wanted to make something that's like an actual doll without actually sewing the thing. So so this took me quite some time to finish out, but so it can go. This is like, I guess, in terms of published covers and in terms of what I've shown, that I've shared in terms of my career, my work in comics. This is the most ambitious work that I've done, I guess.
Well, one of the organizers of Smurf 2020 actually mentioned Christopher. He actually mentioned that Zoo actually has taken 2 years to research the character for my sketch.
I still owe him a sketch commission.
This is actually calling out to actually remind her, is it?
He's calling me out, obviously.
So, just curious, what character is it that you have to work on?
It's actually a character from my cover.
Okay.
Book. Yeah, it's the main agent, like the one of the
the cover, the story.
Cover. Yeah, the story cover. Yeah. The main female
story
protagonist.
about comic book artists that use their status as comic book artists as a secret agent, right?
Yes, that's that's basically the summary of it.
Yeah, I think one of the cover has Jim Lee on it.
Yes, yeah,
right?
It's actually because it was done by him, and he decided to make his. I think what was given to us. I think what Brian wanted was just to put the artist making the cover into the cover itself. So I think that's why Jim Lee did that cover that way.
And really curious, right? So I mean, one of the key observations from your artwork is that you make things really realistic, right? As compared to if you actually see a flat format of a comic book, like say example Electra, you really put in. I mean, you really make her that looks like a real person that would exist. How do you actually go about? Do you use references or
I use a lot,
that is actually exists in your mind?
I use references a lot. I used to I think when I was in school, when I started drawing, I used to think that, oh no, I shouldn't use references and all that. But then I had a really, and then I was brought, the whole idea of like not using references was a false thing in my head, because I thought that, if I were to be a good artist, I should have like a whole repertoire of images in my head that I could just pull out and like draw immediately. But no, I actually do a lot of referencing and taking. I actually buy stock photos online, so to make sure that it's not copyrighted, and to make sure that I don't go, I'm not going to go on Google Images and just grab something from.
I think people are. I mean, at this year and age, people are very sensitive about things like that, right?
Yeah, excuse me. I think I'm talking too much already.
Then if that's the case, you'll probably maybe switch some of the questions to Rian.
But I'm
Assembly
And
drawing.
every time that we actually call out Rian's name, she's always like, "Oh, sorry, I'll stop drawing now." It's almost like a student that is actually doodling.
It's like, Rian, what have you been doing? Right. Yes, we do have questions. Do we have questions over for? But I'll have to say that there have been a lot of lots of love that's being put out on the comment section where for Rian Gonzales. I can see that you have a huge fan base. But there's one interesting question from Dylan. This is actually for both artists, but we'll go Rian first. Was it's to both artists, do you recall that feeling when you got your first published cover? And does that feeling still happen after having a few under the belt?
Um, yeah, especially like all the covers, I actually sold it, but this one I kept it for myself. Like there was someone who wanted to buy it, but I said like I wanted to keep it. It was the Betty and Veronica cover that I did
Mm-hmm.
because um, when I was younger, I really like besides Spider-Man, I really wasn't like into so much Western comics. It was like mostly manga and anime for me. So I actually was reading more like Witch, like the Witch comics and also Archie comics. So that was like really special to me because um, at that time I wasn't expecting. I just did the fan art of the three of them, the gang, and Fiona Staples saw it and she commented on it, and I thought like, oh, I'm already happy with this. Like I'm not expecting anything from it, but at around like 4 a.m. because of course like they're in America, right? So there's like a time difference, and I got the email from Jonathan, who was the director for the books then, and he said that he was working on Adam Hughes for the comics, and they were like looking for some variant
Mm-hmm.
artists, and so this was really like this was really probably the most memorable thing for me because the Marvel one, I before I got into Marvel, it was like a really hard work. Like it took me around 2 years for one of the editors to give me. And the really stressful thing about it is my first cover job for Marvel was immediately like 4 covers. So I didn't know anything like how to stitch the paper since I was doing it traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to like ask some other artists like how to do like the layout for that and stuff. So yeah, but of course like every time I get approached still today, I'm still very thankful, of course, because there are a lot of I know, like, I think I've become more at peace with myself when I learned that there will always be someone who is like better than me, like, because once you accept the fact that you that there will always be like people who are uh, amazing. Like once you come at peace with that, you'd rather
Mm-hmm.
be like more inspired with them than intimidated by
Mhm.
them. Because I see a
Right.
lot of young artists who beat themselves up, like say like, oh my gosh, by 25 I need to be like I'm like that. I was like that before. I was like so stressed all the time because I wanted to um, be published like before this age, or
Mm-hmm.
especially us millennials. So once I've become like I become like at peace with my art when I stop like comparing myself and just comparing with my progress, which is the most important thing, I think.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
How about you, Zu?
Right. Thank you, Rian. And over to Zoo.
Yeah. The question is that do you recall that feeling getting your first published cover or maybe your published work? I think you first broke in coloring David Mack's book, or you did a cover on that.
I no, I um My very first published cover
Mhm.
is something from Valiant,
Mhm.
which is XO Man of War. So I don't know if people know.
Oh, let me just search it out. I think I've seen it before. No worries. Just
Yeah,
continue.
it's been I think it's been 3 years
Mhm.
since then. Yeah, I did recall it because it was actually I wasn't sure if it was ever going to be published because I had sent it in together with another cover that that was never published actually because I guess they had a change of like editorial team or something like that. So it was sort of lost in the management or something. It happens quite a bit. So yeah, I did remember that because and then I think it was almost a whole year later or like 9 months later or something that they finally announced that, oh yeah, we're actually using your cover for this thing. And I was like, oh, okay. I totally forgot about it by that time. And I was trying to like at that point I think I was going ahead and trying to like publish some other things and also trying to do more comic conventions and things like that. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, this one, right?
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was actually, yeah, my very first cover, which is really interesting to me because I'm not I don't I think people who follow my work, that I actually draw a lot of female characters.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Male characters, it's not that I don't want to draw guys or men or like male characteristics. It's just that I it's not I don't think I'm very good at it. So it's something that I want to practice more on. So that being my breakout, like cover,
Mhm.
like published cover, is actually really special to me because I'm like, oh yeah, there you go. Like I do a lot of like girl drawings and girl paintings, but like I have this one, first cover published is actually like a very strong, very manly man kind of like
Manly man.
Lovely one.
I mean, it even has
But do you still
man
have
in the
that
title.
feeling when there's a new cover coming up?
Of
Uh,
course, yeah. I get excited all the time and very, it's always a rush for me every time it's I every
you can
time there's
hold
a
it physically.
yeah yeah and then when I get it like the comms that are being sent to me, I'm always like, wow, it's published, my name is there. Yeah, I still get it. I still get that feeling of like maybe a lot of like, wow, unbelievable, I can't believe that another cover another cover is out, that and people still keep asking me to make covers. It's such a it's I still can't, I'm really grateful. I'm filled with a lot of like just a lot of thankfulness for my situation. I didn't know that I was gonna be in the position that I'm in right now, and to be able to make so many friends and so many um being acquainted with so many editors and people working in the industry and getting to know all these artists that I really admire, and finding and being friends. Like even Rian, I've never met her in person, but now it's like I've made friends with her, and it's wonderful, to like look at her work and like, oh wow, look at how different it is from mine. But that's great that there's such a variety in the industry, and there's just so much support from
Yeah.
all the artists that I
Mhm.
the fans obviously, and I love you guys for it, but also like the different artists, where there's a lot of like building each other up, and that goes on behind the scenes of like, and then because I guess you can kind of understand from the point of view of like the creator, like, oh no, deadlines, but then also like not getting inspiration, or like messing
Yeah.
up the work, or like messing up the character, and not feeling confident about a commission or a cover and things like that. So there is this whole support system that's like that's invisible, but it's there. I'm very grateful for all that. And every cover that is made published for me is it's it's a joy, because it always reminds me of what my first, like all the different things I have had to go through to like, okay, I have to work this much to get to this stage, and so on and so forth. So it's just more of a motivation for me to keep going, and to work on the things that I'm weak at, and like keep just keep finding new things to be inspired by, and to I look forward also. Like the whole thing about comics is that I look forward to like what will be my next commission character, things like that. It's like,
Mhm.
is it something that is gonna shock me or scare me? I've got moments like that as well,
So,
but I'm like,
what shocked you previously? I mean, a
oh,
character that actually shocked you. I mean,
not
at least that you
shocking,
actually say, I have not heard of this. I need
Mhm.
how much of study do I need to do?
Oh, I
Is there one?
not so much. But one that scared me, one of the recent things that I did that scared me was actually Batman. I know it's a very popular,
Uh-huh.
character, but it took me so long to get my Batman commission out done. So that's actually one of the recently finished works that I did, and I
Let's share the final work out. Are you satisfied? Is the
yes, I'm happy with it
Oh
now.
wow,
Yeah.
that's the first
So
time for me looking at it, so it's
you did
lovely.
took away the cape though, right? Is there a reason for it that you
what did
took
I do?
away the cape, the Batman cape?
Oh, actually, I think it was. I think I did it in a way that it was suggested, but maybe it's all
Mm-mm.
lost in like there's like a bit of thing
There's like
behind
an
him.
outline. There's an outline
Yeah,
of the cape. Is that it?
yeah. It's
Right.
not. It's there but not there kind of
And
situation.
yeah, this one is a great embroidery. I just
Yeah,
realized it. I thought it's
yeah.
red line.
No, that one's embroidered.
Awesome.
Thank you, Billie.
Okay, on a lighter topic, trying to actually understand. Well, Batman is never light, but anyway, we'll move on to a lighter topic. Do you guys actually listen to music when you work, and if so, what kind of music works best? Let's start with Rian. Let's start with
I
you.
do listen to music. I used to listen to like more um, kind of like chill low, usually like this year, especially since I don't want to be stressed because we're all stressed already.
Uh-huh.
I'm just listening to some lo-fi
Lo-fi.
and some podcasts actually. I tried learning like some languages like this year,
Oh.
I tried like I listened to some Japanese podcasts and French podcasts. i
Mm-hmm.
think
Mhm.
I think as an artist, we don't use so much our left brain anymore, and I think it deteriorates. Oh, I'm scared. so so sometimes like this year I made it to a point to like listen to something else like on the background, even just like
Mhm.
a documentary or
Okay.
something that kind of stimulates my brain more, because especially since I don't really like talk to anyone, like having someone talk like on the speaker kind of keeps me company, especially since I work like really late at night, sometimes until like 3 a.m.
Oh.
So having like the sound of some like people discussing or just like a podcast helps kind of do like a workspace environment if you think
Mhm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what keeps me awake actually.
Right.
Right.
And
And
Zoo?
Zoo?
Yeah, I do listen to music. I think I mostly though I actually listen to a lot of podcasts, and I
Mm.
love listening to like crime,
Uh-huh.
crime and mystery
Crime
kind of
podcast.
podcasts. Yeah,
Wow.
I think
From
they're
horror to crime.
yeah, they're very
Is
fascinating. It's very
is that
stimulating for
your
me.
writer side? Is that your writer side that wanting to actually
Um,
hear
I
some
think
stories?
yeah, I think more like the narrative, like stories. Yeah,
Mhm.
I just and I like it's different from like an audiobook because I do listen to audiobooks as well.
Oh.
And recently I actually re-listened to the Dune audiobook.
Oh
Mhm.
So
yeah.
that's yeah, so I really like listening to that. But then sometimes a podcast is different because it's like a usually they have like two people and then it's a conversation and I'm kind of like, listening in to two people talking. I just find that really stimulating, like it's very
Mhm.
it's more organic compared to like, people reading off like a book or something. And I do listen to quite a lot of different types of music. Sometimes I like to listen to soundtracks of like games and films and like very um
Epic
war
movie.
kind of music. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Very epic kind of
Very
music.
epic.
Yeah. And then I like a lot of music from like Nine Inch Nails and then Pucifer and like more the I wouldn't say heavy, but just that. But then at the same time, I do also listen to like a lot of like hip hop and rap, and it really depends. I try to
Depends on the mood, whatever
I
yeah
feels.
actually
yeah
I mean Pardon me, I would have actually thought that you will be listening to like classical music when you're actually working. No.
No, I mean, I'm
I
not
mean,
opposed to classical music, but
Mhm.
if I want to listen to non-vocal music, I
right.
actually like to listen to like soundtracks,
Mm.
more than like or like specific classical artists or something like that. But
You
yeah,
set out the mood. You
yeah,
make your life more epic, more movie-like.
yeah.
But it's awesome though. I mean, like, there's a whole range, like a total contrast. Like with Rian, like I'm with Rian as well. When I have to listen to lo-fi music. It's something that I can ignore in the background. But at the same time, I can relate to Zoo as well, where sometimes I just need to blast out my alternative rock. I need to blast out my Radiohead. And it's like, okay, let's go this now.
Yeah.
It really goes from it. And so, but I think it's so cool that you listen to, soundtracks, and that is like, oh man, I'm feeling epic
Yeah.
today.
So
So
what's
yeah.
your favorite soundtrack then?
Recently I've been re-listening to the Dread soundtrack. I don't know if you've watched the movie Dread, like from a few years ago.
Just Dredd?
Oh, you mean
Dread,
The
like
Just
the
Dredd
Dread,
movie?
Judge
remake for
Dread.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Well,
Dredd, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Dredd.
The soundtrack is really good, and I also like
Yeah.
the Game of Thrones soundtrack.
The epic, see? The fantasy epic. There's a question coming from the floor, from Reynard.
Right.
Question to Zoo. Did your stint at MIT Game Lab influence your art in your unique way?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, the I did the when I worked at MIT Game Lab, I was actually that was a summer internship that I did when I was in university.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a collaboration between the Singapore and MIT in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent like like some you can apply for it, and then like the students get chosen to be flown over for like for 10 weeks, I think.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it was more like it was really interesting because it was basically what they do is that it's different teams work on a game and you have to publish it and like as in finish it in this 10 weeks that we were there.
Wow.
So it was a lot of collaboration and like there and all of us were still in school, so I got to work with people from Rhode Island School of Design, the
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
students from there, and then also music students from different universities in the US, and then programmers from Singapore and also from the US, and sound designers, and yeah, it's just QA, quality assurance people.
Mhm.
So we were all students at that point, so it's not really like an actual job. It was like an internship. And yeah, I would say that it influenced me in a way that I learned to work with others, like how do you, because it's one product that you're trying to push
Mhm.
out publicly and trying to push out. And so it's more like how do I work with, because my team actually had the biggest art team in terms of like the number of people that were in the team, because we were
Mhm.
doing a hidden object game. So there are a lot of
Ah,
there are a
you
lot of
need to actually draw the
assets.
background to
Yeah,
hide
yeah,
the
the
object.
assets.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we had the most number of artists in our group. So it was more like, oh, how do we do it in a way that every artist would be able to contribute, in a way that makes into
Mhm.
one style um, that makes sense, that is homogeneous. So it was,
Mhm.
yeah, in terms of like, so it did make me think about how, I guess, in terms of my art that I have applied, it would be more like if I do work like when I do the digital coloring for cover, I had to color over David Mack's ink, right? So
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
so it was like, how do I do it in a way that does not take away his work, his line work and his contribution to the story, and how do I add it so that I don't take away from the story, and how do I add to the story, in terms of my contributions. So I think it's more like a collaborative
Mhm.
experience rather than like, oh, my art itself, as an individual creator, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hope Reynolds, you actually
Yeah.
get the answer. I believe that it does, because it basically, in summary, what you're actually learning is the collaborative working in a team, and
Yeah.
also respect. I mean, think of the final product as your final outcome,
Mhm.
as such that when you come to approach, you actually think about the final outcome.
Yes, yeah, all of that. Very nicely summarized. Thank you.
So another question coming from Reynald. This is
This
for
is
Rian.
for, yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
So many great artists. Yeah, you always has that expression.
Which is cute.
So many great artists from Philippines. Are there any particular that will have actually influenced your style and helped you in your career?
um, so
You mentioned
I do
Miko.
have
We
I do
actually kept
have
on
a
pricing.
I do have a regular kind of like group that I go to,
Mhm,
like when I go to conventions, which is like Abby, who is Sarah Fleur, Abigail Diaz, and I have also like Elmer Santos, who is the one who colors some of Stephen's pages, and Philip Tan, and mostly like uh, just people that I meet at the convention, because it's important to surround yourself with um, also like-minded people, because they're going to help you improve your work and reach your goal. It's like we have this sort of group where we could share and our struggles and stuff. We don't always talk to each other, but once we
mhm.
like meet, or when we go to conventions, it's like, hey girl. it's like it's like nothing's changed. I think that's the kind of adult friendship, like you don't have to
Mhm,
talk to them every day, but once you because everyone, like all of us, are busy, like, and but once you see each other, it's like nothing happened. It's like you saw each other yesterday, so yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, this actually follow up with another question to you
Mhm.
from Lean Cruz.
I think
The
we
question is that what is there to expect more from Rian Gonzalez as an artist in 2021?
Yeah, I think we can actually apply this for both of them.
uh,
Like, what are
Yeah,
they looking forward to?
okay.
yeah.
Well, I've actually been I actually just signed like uh, a, a series of covers for two titles. So that's like five covers each. So I am
Wow,
working currently
10,000.
for 10
Mhm,
covers since like November. So I haven't been updating so much my social media because it's all like NDA for now. But it is for
mhm,
like a mainstream comic book um, publisher. So I'm
yes.
hoping like they would release it like early next year maybe. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty excited about it, especially since it's a title that was like very 90s too. It's like it's something that I grew up with as well. It,
Ah,
it, it's,
okay.
it's my first time to be asked actually for a series of covers. Usually, I'm always just asked for like a single issue. Like
Mm-hmm,
I never had like never did like a contract for like a slate of covers. So it's a new thing for me, and then it took me quite a while to like adapt to it, because usually what they ask is they ask you to do all the sketches first, all the
mm,
layouts for it,
mm,
and it's actually the most annoying part for me, I think, like thinking of what I'm going to do for the cover. That's the most conflicting part of it, because once you put it into pencil, it's gonna flow right through you, like it's gonna be easy. But so it takes me like 2 to 3 days to like lay out everything, to think what am I gonna do for this cover, and you have to consider the time that you take for it, especially since Zoo and I are painters. We need
Mm-hmm.
to take into account that um, there's this deadline, and we need to make something that is like good but also not too time consuming, so you don't stress over it. So the I think that's the most challenging part for me, is the penciling and the layout stage.
Okay.
okay. So good. Zoo, for
Mm-hmm.
yourself? what's the expectation, or what are we actually expecting from you for 2021?
I guess one thing that I can share would be the cover series that I'll be continuing my work
Mm-hmm.
on,
Yeah.
and hopefully also do a little bit more in the series as well, not just digital coloring. So we'll see about that. Maybe
Ah,
more
okay.
interior work as well.
Interior.
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
So that's something cool that I can look. So that's that's gonna be a bit out of my comfort zone, but I hope
Mm-hmm.
that it'll be something that I could work on and like have some experience on, and have some opportunities to explore that aspect of the comic making a bit more. Like like more in tune with the narrative, the
Mm.
actual narrative part of it, rather than just like, oh yeah, this is the cover, and then so, but of course, I'm never gonna say no to cover work. So hopefully there's more hopefully there's more of that coming up as well. And 2021, I hope that we could meet again in person. It's
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
Maybe I
Yeah,
can
That's,
meet Zoo in
yeah, I
person.
really want to
yeah.
meet Rian and give a big
we
hug.
need to bring that cons, man. I mean, I am
Yeah.
Gonna
totally
do the
not on cons.
On the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side, you need to actually move it for. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, just like a burger
Yay.
in a heart.
So there you go. There's a lot
So
of
random.
I know. Hancock, should we do it? No, okay. So,
Later, maybe later.
right.
Maybe like that.
So
Vision.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just like,
There
Rian
you go.
is like an
He
expert
ignored
at this.
me. He totally ignored me. Okay, anyways, just thinking in about the time now. We are now at, we've got how many more minutes? We got a couple, actually a few more minutes going in. So I'm just gonna take in the last question over. This is by Jessica Ahmed, and this is for Zoo actually. I love
Hi,
your art.
Jessica.
You mentioned that you started as a writer and drew to support that. When did the art take over the writing, and have you considered writing again?
Oh, hi, Jessica.
All right. And it's awesome because Jessica was in our series as well.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, I adore Jessica. I love all her toys, and she's such a sweet and kind person. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to hear. It's good to see her comment here. I'm really happy. I'm okay. So I started as a writer. Oh, okay. So basically, have I considered writing again? I've never stopped. It's just that I don't show my work. I don't
Right.
show my writing because I'm actually really shy about sharing. I feel like words are very personal and very,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
it's just, because I guess for like, something like an illustration or a painting, in a way I could hide behind like this,
Message.
yeah, like the but then words
Visual,
are
the
like the
canvas.
words, yeah, the visuals, would make,
Mm-hmm.
and visuals can be interpreted in so many different ways according to
Mm-hmm.
your own life experiences, right? So
Right.
for me it's in a way I could, like, if I'm trying to put a message out, it's very easy to just be like, oh yeah, I can just use this symbolism. If people get it, they get it. If they don't, that's fine. And then and that's still, but then in a way it's still very satisfying because I know I still have that message out there. But when it comes to, like, writing, I actually, the writing that I do is actually poetry, which is very, it's very, very personal to me.
Okay.
I actually have sold some poetry books in my
Oh.
during conventions. So that's kind of
Uh-huh.
like my secret little stash. So if you actually come by my table, I would have like a small,
All
like a
right.
very
So do
small.
we have to like whisper like a passcode or something like this?
No, no, no. I wouldn't necessarily like, oh yeah, these are my poetry books, pick it up, It's
Oh,
more like if someone happens to chance upon it, they'll be like, oh, what is this? And then they look through it, and then so it's just like a little thing that I leave behind for, like, attentive people.
Oh.
so it's almost like something like a hidden item that someone needs to actually ask before you
Right.
start talking about it. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
unlike
something
those cover books or
like,
public comics that say,
yeah,
"Hey, this is what it is."
yeah. Because I want to share it, but
Hmm?
I just don't have the right I'm not brave enough yet to do it. So I'm
Not,
just doing it in the little ways that that would be that
well,
is
sharing it right now
comfortable.
makes people or the audience
Yeah,
aware.
yeah. I mean, if
Yeah.
people tune in right now, they would know about it. So
Yes.
I've not talked about this a lot in like live streams or whatever. So
Well,
yeah, you guys are special.
we already felt very special having you both.
Is there a way
uh,
we can get like? Is there a way we can buy this online, like your poetry, your written works? Is there a way we can like get it?
I'll send one to you, Billy.
Ah, yeah.
How about me? Huh?
You too, of course.
And over to Rian. Right.
Yes.
Of course.
So for Hancock, I do believe that they are taking commissions.
Yes, I believe that Zoo, your commission slot is still open, or has it been closed?
I believe only I think the first tier is still
Mm-hmm,
open, but like
mm-hmm.
the bigger, you know,
So how
crazy.
long more
Right.
will it actually remain open?
I'm
Because
not
it's
sure.
about the end of Smooth 2020
Oh,
Part 2.
I guess it's still open. I think you guys have like the Google form still up in
Mm-hmm.
the
Okay.
Okay.
community, so I think people
Okay.
can just check that out and see
Yeah,
if there are
I'll probably
slots.
just share it
Yeah.
out. Let me just look for it.
Right, so we'll drop it over onto the comment section. So for those of you who's interested, just fill it up in the forms, and maybe if you can message her and see if you can weasel your way into getting some poetry books. That's up to you. So and also for Rian, yeah. So we will be sharing out, as you can see in Play Expression, we do share out their social media. So if you are interested in following this artist, do check out the social media. Reach out to them, send out some love, because I'm pretty sure all the artists right now that's stuck at home. I'm not going to say stay at home, that's stuck at home, unable to go to cons, could pretty much use a lot of love and support. And yeah, I think before we close out, oh, some of them, a lot of them, I'm so sorry that I couldn't read out comments from all the fans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love going on for Zoo and also for Rian. Thank you so much for reaching out. We will look through the comments one by one real soon, and and I'm pretty sure I'll get back to you. Um, yeah. So before we close, anything that you
Before
want?
we close, we'll probably have a look at the progress of Riyadh.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
you
Right.
I
have
didn't
actually finished it, half of it.
it's like
Oh, that's so great.
That's so
I didn't
cool.
finish the other one
Amazing.
though. Oh
And
no, but in
you actually prepared both, right? Two.
yeah. But it's okay. It's on the back of my notebook secretly.
Right. Will we be able to see the finished piece like anywhere on online?
Yes, I'm going to upload it like maybe sometime,
Well,
maybe
any
tomorrow
plan
or something.
what you actually want to do with it? Is there any plan? Would you sell it? Will you actually keep it just like your Betty and Veronica covers?
No, I'm still thinking about it. I actually just do the sketches for fun. I don't feel comfort. I How do I say? I don't feel confident enough with it yet to like offer it as kind of like
Well,
zoo. It's like my secret menu, you know. Like I feel like it's not
I
like
think
there.
with the
It's not like
comments is
something.
already fine.
Yeah.
Like, but I think like we've got a lot of them already. I mean, we've got Ariel who's given her a shout out on how awesome the Ashoka looks like.
Mhm.
Ben Napier is saying that it looks awesome drawing.
Oh,
And
thank
yeah, we've
you.
got someone egging another one. We've got Kenny shouting out, "Oh, go and buy the drawing from Rian." So that. So yes,
Yes, I'm
Marshall,
telling you.
I think this is for both of you. You both are amazing and
Yeah, both
talented
of you are
artists.
really amazing. It's actually such an honor to actually host like
Yes,
two
both
lovely guests plus a lovely host that I actually bullied
Yes.
a little bit.
Me.
what do you want? If there's so much compliments, I'm pretty much being stunned right now. So,
Yeah, there's some hidden
You're
agenda.
Suspicious.
I
no,
mean, the only hidden agenda will probably be that. I mean, I'll ask the last question. Right, you guys love to be back for our future one, if there's any chance. Ah, I see some nodding head. Yeah.
1000%.
mm,
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank
Thank
Really,
you
you
so
so much.
much,
really
Yeah.
Rian.
appreciate that. Both of you actually willing to join, and I think that it's actually a very fruitful conversation that we had. I just wish that we actually have more time for us
Yes.
to actually
Oh,
continue
Right.
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I
we
hope,
still keep in touch on social media. Yeah.
yes.
Yes, Billy. I'll
And
shut
and
up now.
also, oh, okay. All right. So yes, thank you so much as well on behalf of Smurf Part Two, and also on behalf of all the communities and the fans that have been here. Yes, again, we're just gonna remind all the fans, if you guys are interested to know more about their work, please follow them on social media. I follow Rian on Twitter, and it's amazing stuff. And I follow Orzu on Facebook, and she's got amazing content as well. So do follow them. And also, I'll see you guys in the next sessions. And thank you. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, ladies.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
Yes.
you.
you.
Thank
Bye
All right.
Thank
bye.
you so
All right.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.